Hey, this is Fuchsia, and so I'm recording this a few days before the new Pokemon DLC comes out, at least the first one, the Teal Mask. And I thought, since it's going to be coming out in a few days, I'm going to hopefully try to get this video out as soon as possible, so that way, it'll be a couple days, maybe a week or two at most after the DLC drops. But since this DLC has been announced, we've been getting like snippets and clues of new Pokemon and new forms and stuff that like really gets me excited. And so I thought I'd have, my hand at it, as I do whenever I see like new Pokemon announcements and stuff. It really gets me excited and I really want to design something. And so for like a lot of the Pokemon that we do see in the like Teal Mask DLC is a lot of new evolutions and like real regional variants of some kind. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go on that path too. So yeah, I don't really want to waste any time. So let's just jump right into it, I guess. So as you can see, I'm going to be designing a grapple locked evolution. And I decided to go with evolution because we already have two evolutions that were announced to us in terms of both Diplin and oh god, I can't remember their name. Archeodon. And I know that one, which is like the evolution for Duraludon, but I know they aren't going to be in the Teal Mask. But it is shown that they're playing around with the idea of new evolutions for Pokemon, and specifically Gen 8 Pokemon, which I feel is like important to note because right now we also recently got news of Poltergeist, which is like, a Poltegeist regional variant of some kind. But it really does show that they're kind of heavily focusing on Gen 8, at least for this DLC. So as you can see, I decided to kind of also go Gen 8, and I feel like a Pokemon that kind of needed an evolution from Gen 8 was Grapple Locked. I felt like, it's a really cool design and all, but I feel like base stat wise and usage wise is kind of a little bit lacking a little bit, I'd say. And the thing that I noticed with the Teal Mask DLC Pokemon is that they're all, well, two things I noticed. First off, I think the thing that I noticed right away is that they're very Japanese inspired, with Poltegeist, clearly being based off tea, and Diplin kind of being based off like candy apple, which are kind of like common treats used in like Japanese festivals and stuff. But that kind of also leads me into the second thing I noticed is that they're both based on food, weirdly enough, like tea and candy apples, which was really like stood out to me. But I don't know if that's like a theme that they're going to be using for just the Teal Mask, and then obviously the Indigo Disc gets different theming. But I decided to kind of keep with the themes and patterns already presented, I guess. So obviously that means, choosing a Gen 8 Pokemon, Grapple Locked, and adding the design elements or design theming, I guess, which is like inherently food-based and Japanese, like cultural-based. So I decided to make an evolution, and that evolution I wanted to kind of focus on more the like tackling fighting aspect, and kind of add a Japanese layer to it by including sumo. And then also the food element that I want to add was takoyaki, which is like a popular festival food or street food in general in Japan. So it's like also made out of octopus, so I felt like it would fit. I would try to like I felt like theming wise they all kind of like blend together a little bit nicely. So I decided to go with that angle. So right now you can see me doing the rough sketches while I try to figure out how I wanted to structure the guy. And like my personal idea is that like the patterns and stuff on my evolution kind of like resemble the takoyaki, while the fighting style and like rest of the physical appearance kind of leans into more sumo, or at least sumo inspired, because it's not fully gonna be sumo shaped. I decided because Grapple Locked was already pretty lean octopus, so was Clobopus, but I just kind of wanted to keep that going on a little bit. But this is like, I think this sketch that I'm doing right now is like the final sketch that I ended up going with. But I really also wanted to kind of explain some of my thought process a little bit. You'll see that there are like less limbs, quote unquote, with my evolution than like regular grapple-locked octopus, clobopus is. So my reasoning for that is that like the belt and like the arm coils are like actually its tentacles as well, and it's kind of using them to bulk itself up a little bit, and be nice and big. Oh, speaking of big, I'm upscaling the size of the image right now, but yeah. So that was like my thought process, that it would use its excess tentacles to like coil around its body to like, you know, obviously add some mass, add some bulk to kind of, you know, still maybe add to the sumo aspect without it being overtly plump, I guess. Because I felt like, you know, the Clobopus and Grapple Locked line seem very like fit and lean, so we'll try to keep that. Just also try to add some of that sumo, some of those sumo elements. Sorry. And if you'll notice, I'm trying to like keep all of this in one go in terms of recording, just so I can try to get this out as fast as possible. But yeah, so I might have some like verbal tics and verbal hiccups. But for now, I'm doing the lining. You know, fairly standard for what I usually do Pokemon line art. But I think you'll see as I'm lining it that I do try to like change some of the stuff from like my sketch and try to adjust the proportions a little bit as I'm inking. But even then, when you see the final product, you'll see that I still afterwards decided to change some of the proportions and some of the line work and all that, just solely because it's difficult to get it right on the first go, but I gave it my best shot. But yeah, so I guess I'll continue explaining some of my design concepts while I'm inking, because I didn't realize I spent a while inking, but I might as well talk about it a little bit. So one of the things that I really wanted to do, in addition of adding all these themings, was kind of keeping the elements the same in terms of like Grapple Locked and Clobopus. I didn't want to like stray too far from what their designs were or what they had going on initially either. So even though I changed it to like more sumo takoyaki kind of vibes, I still kept, you know, their mask for Clobopus and stuff, just because I know that's like an important part of their design, and it would be wrong to like not include that in its evolution and stuff. But so I decided to like make the mask into like one of those full half masks rather than like the kind of just around the eye masks that Grapple Locked and Clobopus have. I felt like maybe that was like a better way to signify growth in its evolution, just kind of like, you know, really show that it's stepping up both, you know, fighting and how it looks. So it just has like, you know, a bigger mask, you know, bigger mass and just bigger everything in general. That's what I also did with its other tentacles. I made them a lot larger, or like have more of a distinct shape, I feel, because I wanted the tentacles to like be kind of more like limb shaped. I know that the other ones are like actual limbs too, but I wanted them to feel more like they have a little bit more weight to them, especially if they're going to be like, you know, tackling and pushing like in sumo. So I thought I'd try to do that. And then, like I said before, like because it's an octopus, they have 8 limbs. And so I kind of had the fun idea, you know, have my evolution have, you know, 2 like normal human amount of limbs. So that's saying 2 arms, 2 legs. So that's 4 limbs. And then the excess limbs could make up the belt, and they could also make up like kind of like the coil around the arm, which I kind of wanted to include just to like add some more dynamic shapes, but also try to like go with that concept that I wanted to do, like that I mentioned earlier, that it kind of like coils its body to like bulk up the rest of it, so it looks like it's bigger even though it might not be. But I thought that would be, you know, fun and interesting to do. I like I said before, I do make adjustments to it, so it's not gonna stay exactly the same. But I felt like I really wanted to incorporate all of that. And I really felt like I had to combine both old and new elements, just because I feel like that's what an evolution should do. It should still be reminiscent of its like, you know, pre-evolutions, but while still adding some new and exciting ideas and elements and all that. So hopefully they came across with what I'm gonna do. While I do really like what I did with this guy, I don't know if, you know, it's gonna be accurate to what's gonna be in the DLC, or even if what like the patterns I noticed are fully gonna be incorporated into the DLC. Because I don't know what they're gonna add. I don't know which Pokemon they're gonna give, you know, new forms to, new evolutions to. Like, out of like the two that we know are gonna be new for old, like new forms for old Pokemon, like from what I could gather, it was very Japanese and very based off food. It might not be like that. That might not be the pattern that I thought it was, and they might do something completely different with like, you know, different Pokemon, new Pokemon from different generations, just ditch the theming entirely. But you know, I love seeing patterns like that, and I love adding my own twist and my own ideas into stuff like that, which is what, you know, got me really excited, because, you know, I saw a pattern. I saw a pattern that may or may not be actually what's gonna happen, or what, you know, may have been even planned, but I saw it, I really liked it, I you know, and I thought I should try to do my own spin on it, and this is what I came up with. But yeah, so, you know, I'm still lining. I didn't realize how long it took for me to line. I think it was all like the little circular suckers like on the tentacles and stuff that took me a while, because, you know, obviously they're circles or ovals, but, you know, they're very round, and it's hard to get like a perfect circle or perfect oval even. It's just really hard to do. So I feel like I ate up like a whole lot of my time while I try to like make those like little suckers like perfect, or at least perfect to me. But yeah, I feel like that's what took a lot of time in my design for him. But, you know, it is what it is, and we keep on going forward with the design. Oh, we're finally getting into coloring. Now, I do change the coloring in post again. I know I keep on doing that, but for like these videos, I like to try to like put down what I think is like a good color palette, and then I try to like experiment around with other colors once I'm done, which usually either leads to like more refined color palettes, or sometimes even completely different color palettes. But as you can see, I did not like keep traditional like takoyaki colors. I was like considering it. I was considering like maybe making it tan and having like the sauce over it and like with green leaves and stuff, but I felt like maybe that would be a little too direct, especially because Grapploct and Clobbopus have such vibrant colors already. I feel like it wouldn't translate as well if my evolution had like a more realistic color palette per se. But I think I decided to like incorporate some of that into its shiny, which I'll show later on. But I'm shading right now, which I think I also do adjust in my finished product as well. I think I adjust like the shading and lighting, but I adjust that, and I adjust the coloring, which I'll talk about it more when, you know, my time lapse is up. But just keep in mind that this isn't final, so if it looks a little wonky, that's why. I just wanted to, you know, put some colors down, some colors that I thought, you know, I try to use, and I do kind of keep, at least in the rough color wheel area of the colors that I'm going to use, but it ends up becoming more refined and more, you know, well adjusted when I'm done. Oh, speaking of which, I'm done now. So as you can see, wow, looking really back on it, I did change the colors a lot. But yeah, I changed the colors to be kind of more purple and bright pink, just because, again, Grapploct and Clobbopus also have like very bright colors, especially they have like very bright masks, and I felt like it would be a disservice to their evolution if I gave them just kind of like a very bland or like not vibrant mask. So I decided to go lean towards that direction. Yeah, and I also like gave them darker accents, which both Clobbopus and Grapploct carry, like that dark, like bluish, slightly purple tinted like accent colors that they have, mostly on their tentacles and like other accent features. So I decided to keep that and carry it through. And yeah, I felt like it turned out really well. I felt like changing the colors was a really good decision. And then for its shiny, I decided that I would kind of follow the traditional patterns of their shiny, which is just changing that previously mentioned dark blue, kind of purpley, into a white, and then kind of changing the other colors around. I decided to do that too. And so this is where kind of like slightly more takoyaki colors kind of come into play. Kind of like I try to get like a yellowy orange color for like the batter or like the part that's fried, and then kind of more of like a brownish kind of reddish for like the sauce on top. And I don't know, I felt like it turned out fine. I don't know if it exactly reads as takoyaki, but maybe I can make adjustments later to a shiny. I haven't decided yet, but maybe you guys can tell me like what I can do to change it to make it look a little bit more like takoyaki while still being, you know, a really good shiny. But yeah, so I really want to get this out, you know, roughly around the same time as, you know, the DLC comes out. But knowing my track record, it might come out later. Hopefully I can get this out as soon as I can, because I have like other ideas that I want to do. But I really wanted to like show my excitement for the DLC and show what I could do, just thinking of evolutions and stuff for other Pokemon. And oh, I completely slipped my mind, but I realized that I've constantly been referring to this Pokemon that I've created as an evolution. I have thought of a name. I don't know if I'm gonna go with it, mostly because I don't know if it really works too well. But if you guys don't like it, you guys can think of names in the comments. But the name I thought of while making it was Talkhold. I'll like write it out on screen so you can see how I wrote it out. But my thought process was I would have Tako, which is like, you know, Japanese for octopus. Combine that with hold, like, you know, like obviously fighting style, like grappling and holding, and then putting them together kind of, when you read it out and say it out, is kind of like tackled, like, you know, obviously tackling someone to the ground, you know, that kind of like tackle. So I thought like it was like a nice blend, but I don't know if it necessarily fits with like the naming conventions of the other two. If you guys have like a different name idea or maybe even a better naming idea, I'm glad to see it in the comments if you guys have any of that. But that was my thought for a name. Not too sure on it yet, but yeah, I just wanted to throw that out. But other than that, I think I'm done with this video. If you liked it, you know, leave a like, subscribe, all that jazz. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. Okay, bye.